Hello, everyone. I'll just give it a moment while all the attendees join. I see the numbers are still increasing, and we'll get started in just a second. Right, the numbers seem to be settling down, so I'll make a start. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. And regardless of where that is, you are very welcome. I'm Ian Turkington. I'm the VP for Architecture and APIs here at TM Forum, and together with Tecnotree, I'll be hosting today's Digital Leadership Summit, the Enterprise Playbook, Fueling Growth with Technology Enablers and the Digitally Connected Ecosystem. So over the next 2 hours, we have a real treat for you. I'm joined by a bunch of experts that are really going to help us dig into this topic. So let me just begin with going through the agenda. In just a moment, I'll take a few minutes to introduce today's topic and talk about the importance of building partner ecosystems and becoming a digital partner when working with enterprise customers. After my introduction, Kalyan Silvasalam from 5C Network will be sharing his experience from the healthcare sector. Following Kalyan, we have Sajan Joy Thomas from Tecnotree. Sajan will be looking at driving enterprise growth with customer-centric experiences. By this time, you'll probably have had enough of PowerPoint, so we have a short interview with Omar bin Rashid. He'll be sharing how STC is helping enterprise customers accelerate their digital transformation in Saudi Arabia. And following Omar, we have a very short treat for you, but that's going to be a surprise, so I'll say nothing more about it, and you'll hear more about that at around about 9:55. Our final speaker of the day is Charles Mulapisi, the Group CTIO for MTN, and Charles will be talking about how MTN are enabling digital enterprises in Africa. Final part of today's agenda is a panel discussion where our speakers will be joined by Padma Ravichander, the CEO of Tecnotree, Khalilo Khan, Middle East and Africa Industry Lead for Telecoms and Media from Microsoft, and Girish Gopalakrishnan, Executive Business Head from GE Healthcare. So I'll have a panel of 5 experts to manage today, which is certainly going to be an interesting experience. Now, normally for a session like this, we would all be sitting in the same room and things tend to feel a bit more natural. But obviously today and for the last year and a half, things have been very different. We're all getting used to working over Zoom, but I think we still need to try a little bit harder to keep things as interactive as possible. So to do this, there's a chat button and a Q&A button available to you throughout the session. So feel free to use the chat for any general comments and even just to say hello. And if you have a question, please ask it during the Q&A button. The questions will be monitored by the speakers and the panelists throughout the day, and we'll try to give you answers online. And also in the panel session, I'll bring as many questions as possible to the panelists during that. So please don't be shy, post your questions at any time during the session. And we'll also have audience polls. It's always interesting to get a quick view of things from the gathered audience, so do watch out for these. And in fact, Sarah, if I could get you to launch the first audience poll at any time and just leave it active in the background for a couple of moments, that would be brilliant. So as you can see, we have a very full agenda. So let's get started. If you can go on to the next slide, please. One slide up, you've gone to, beg your pardon. I want to take a few minutes just to set the scene for today's summit. As you know, the summit is titled The Enterprise Playbook, Fueling Growth with Technology Enablers and a Digitally Connected Ecosystem. So we will be looking at how end users, enterprises, communication service providers, and technology service providers can all work together to create this digitally connected ecosystem. And we'll be hearing how these ecosystems will drive growth and deliver customer benefit. But before we begin, I want to step back a little bit and consider why we need to move beyond connectivity and why we need these partner ecosystems at all. So if you go on to the next slide, just want to begin with a graphic which has been used by TM Forum for quite a while. So I suspect many of you will have seen this before, but it has a very important message, so I won't apologize for using it again. This graphic was produced following many conversations with our members, and it's our observation of the current situation and future direction for the telecom sector. Starting at the bottom left, we have the traditional non-digital telco. Most telcos begin in this position. And the current trajectory for most telcos is from left to right, what's referred to in this graphic as digital efficiency. What we're observing is that telcos are going digital. So what does this mean? They're exploring how they can bring their products to the market, how they communicate with their customers, their users, their workers. They're introducing automation, less human interaction, zero-touch operations. And this is all really good stuff. If you do all this and if you achieve all this, you will transform from being a traditional telco to a digital telco. But we do not believe this is enough to survive and thrive in the long term. We believe a course correction is required, and we need to consider digital enablement in addition to digital efficiency. And digital enablement is represented as the vertical axis on this chart. So what do I mean by digital enablement? Digital enablement is taking the digital thinking beyond the communication sector and partnering with other businesses in a digital way. This will allow the traditional telco to transform not simply into a digital telco, but into a digital partner. Now, I've used this slide quite a lot, but when I saw it first, there's quite a lot to take in. So I use a very simple example to bring it to life. If we forget about a telco for a moment and think about a traditional pizza company. Now, if you're a traditional pizza company and you want to go digital and you're going along this axis of digital efficiency, this would involve things like supporting online orders, building an app, perhaps even some smart stuff like back office automation where you were linking your sales to your stock management to your order taking. And this would allow you to sell pizza digitally and you would have become a digital pizza company. But what does a transformation mean if you wanted to become a digital partner? And this is where that pizza company would expose their business to partner businesses. Now, the partner businesses might be broader food providers like Just Eat or Deliveroo. So their pizzas can now be ordered from somebody else's app. Or perhaps it could be something more radical, like a pop-up when you check into a local hotel and you've checked in late and it says, click this button and a pizza will be delivered. So these are the sort of things where the digital changes that enable a company to move from simply being a digital company to being a digital partner. So that's all well and good for pizza companies, but that's not why we're here. So what does this mean for communications providers? Just go on to my final slide, please. With telcos, the partners are going to be companies like healthcare providers, manufacturing industry, national and local government, transport companies, but the principle is just the same. It's about ensuring that your business can be consumed and can play a part in your partner's business in a digital way. On the left-hand side of this graphic, we have a sort of a simple traditional value chain where technology providers sell to communication service providers who in turn sell to end customers. However, as technology has developed and as the enterprise customers are becoming increasingly digital, this simple model no longer works. We need to move beyond this traditional linear model to a more complex ecosystem model. The figures in this graphic and the percentages refer to some analysis, some research where they estimated an additional $400 billion attached to 5G and the associated B2B to X ecosystem. So there's a huge prize here, but I don't want to labor the values here, as the important message I think for today is to consider that the value chain will be different. It's not this linear value chain. It will be an ecosystem which will contain end users, the enterprise business, the communication service provider, and the technology provider. And digitalization will mean that value does not necessarily flow from one to the next in a traditional way. For example, we will have end users communicating directly with technology providers for IoT services or cloud services. And if these complex ecosystems are to be successful, they're going to require new business models, and most importantly, they're going to require strong partnerships. And today we're going to be hearing from technology providers, communication service providers, and enterprisers who are all on this journey. And they'll be sharing how they have built successful ecosystems and giving you the hints and tips from the enterprise playbook to help you succeed. So hopefully that's got you interested in what's to follow. So let me introduce our first speaker for today. Our first speaker is Kalyan Silvasalam. Kalyan is the CEO for 5C Network. 5C network is India's largest AI-powered diagnostic radiology network, providing diagnosis to over 2 million people every year. And Kalyan himself, he was named in Forbes 30 Under 30 in 2019. And among other things, he's been recognized as India's young social innovator by the Hindustan Times. So I'm really delighted to have Kalyan with us today. So over to you, Kalyan. You can take it away from here. Thank you very much.
Hope I am audible, guys. Awesome. Let me quickly get started. Ian, just wanted to confirm I'm audible and visible, right?
You certainly are, yes.
Perfect. Excited. First of all, before I start, just wanted to give a big shout out to Tecnotree and the TM Forum for having me here. It's an honor to present at this forum. I'm very excited to tell the audience about my vision for zero-touch healthcare services in the 5G era. So thank you guys once again for having me, and very excited. I have 15 minutes and I'm going to be taking you through 5 primary points to this presentation about 5C and what we do, so that I'm able to set some context for you. How we're building for a more connected world, and how we're shaping our products in anticipation for a more connected world. I'm then going to be touching upon and kind of impressing upon all of you what I believe is the role for telecom service providers and connectivity providers, and why it is imperative that we move beyond connectivity, just connectivity. The 4th point, I'm going to talk about my vision for zero-touch healthcare services, and also how to get there. I built a 6-point plan where we could work together as an ecosystem to actually get there, and would love to hear comments and thoughts at the end of that. And finally, I'm going to paint a picture and really kind of walk you guys through what I think the healthcare journey would be if all of us are able to work together and really be successful. So, to really tell you guys about what 5C does, I'm going to start with a story, 2 stories, in fact, one in 2016 and one in 2020. In 2016, in Bangalore, which is one of the largest cities in India, a gentleman named Syed was suddenly taken very unwell. His blood pressure was 210 by 140, and he was admitted into one of the largest hospitals in the center of the city. He had to take an MRI scan of his brain and spine. And unfortunately, the interpretation for that MRI scan did not come for over 48 hours, which means that no physician actually took action, and Syed was just on maintenance. Nobody was actually actively treating him. The first night when the diagnosis didn't come and he started deteriorating, one of the nurses actually told his family and his friends to pray, because they had no idea what's wrong till the diagnosis would be given. Fast forward to 2020, and I'm going to take you to a small hamlet in Karnataka, one of the states in South India, a place called Koppa. Koppa is in the north of Karnataka. It's very far away from any large urban city. And a young gentleman, 29 years, his name is Prakash. Prakash had a bad road traffic accident and was unconscious on the highway. A good Samaritan took him to the nearest hospital, which turned out to be a place called Koppa CT Scan and Nursing Home, which is run by a wonderful doctor, Dr. Uday. The Prakash's CT scan was immediately taken, and it was quickly found that he had what is known as a subdural hemorrhage, which is basically a very serious finding in the brain, which means that your brain is bleeding out. This needs to be corrected immediately. Within 5 minutes, Prakash was in an ambulance going to the nearest neuro intervention center. Dr. Uday had already sent the images of his CT scan to the treating surgeon, who had seen the images, spoken to the radiologist who reported the case, and knew exactly what to do and what kind of intervention to give. The CT scan report was available in less than 5 minutes. Within 50 minutes, Prakash was actually in the hospital. Within 55 minutes, he was in the neuro OT, and his life was saved. Syed, who I spoke to you about in the beginning of the story, is actually my co-founder. And after he got through that difficult ordeal, we decided to start 5C to help anybody across India and hopefully beyond get access to the best diagnostic services. Dr. Uday is one of the owners of over 1,000 hospitals and diagnostic centers that actually work with us on a daily basis and rely on 5C for fast, accurate, and actionable diagnosis. And Prakash is actually one of more than 2.5 million people who have actually gotten diagnosis from 5C, and one of over 150,000 who has gotten life-saving diagnosis through 5C's network. And this is exactly what 5C does. We connect hospitals and diagnostic centers to qualified and capable radiologists and give radiologists a platform where they can give diagnosis basically within an instant. Today, we average, we maintain an accuracy of over 99%, and we maintain a turnaround time of less than 30 minutes for every case. And very briefly, right, now that you know what 5C does, our vision and our mission is to help doctors and patients make better decisions during difficult times. And the most difficult time is when you don't know what's wrong with you. And we want to be the technology provider that empowers doctors and patients to get fast, accurate diagnostics that helps them take better decisions for their health. And how are we planning to do this? We are doing this by building the world's largest AI-powered online diagnostics platform. Today, over 400 radiologists log into 5C every single day and report over 6,000 cases for clients across India. And a lot of these clients across India would have never gotten access to the kind of specialization and expertise that they would have if not for 5C. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about what I do, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing. I'm going to take you, very briefly through how the platform really works, right? So we work with, like I said, hospitals and diagnostic centers. We are able to deploy with them in less than 60 minutes. So if any of you guys are, for example, owning a hospital or a diagnostic center, you need 5C. Once you get in touch with us, we are in your system within 60 minutes. We are available 24/7. All the images can be shared digitally, and the reports are available to you digitally into your EMR or EHR. Every person in the process can speak to each other on 5C's platform. And we have built a collaboration tool where every stakeholder who is involved in the process, it could be the physician, it could be the patient, it could be the technologist, it could be the radiologist. They're all connected and they're all talking on the same platform so that information symmetry is always available. And we're always online to support. Right? To quickly kind of take you guys through, on the left, you can actually see a live demonstration of what's going on in the 5C network platform. We get, large medical images from our clients across India and now beyond. The moment these images come in and we have the appropriate patient history, our platform immediately runs AI on this to understand whether there are any critical cases. In this case, actually on the left, you'll be able to see a part where one of our AI algorithms is actually detecting, as you can see here, a brain bleed. And we know that, there is a bunch of brain bleeds here. The report is already pre-written using NLP for the radiologist so that they can reduce the amount of time it takes for them. We have 7 live AI models integrating. And thanks to the kind of technology that we've built into the platform, we've been able to maintain accuracy rates of over 99%. And it looks simple, and I hope it looks simple, but there's a lot of complex orchestration that goes on here. And as you will see, this will lead me to some of the reasons why I think that this space has to expand. So this is very briefly about the 5C platform. A little bit about our work so far, and I'm going to talk about something that we've all lived through collectively: COVID. During COVID, CT scans became a very important part of the diagnostic process because RT-PCR was not very sensitive, and at the same time, at least in India, was backlogged heavily. And so we reported over 300,000 COVID X-rays and CT scans, by far the largest in the country. And we actually pioneered the adoption of 2 very important quantitative measures of COVID spread, which is CT severity score and CORADS. And we actually made this a standard that now every radiologist in the country follows. We then built AI to detect and quantify the extent of COVID in lung CT scans. And this allowed us to reduce the turnaround time to approximately 16 minutes for a COVID CT scan, which meant that, suspect patients who are getting a scan can get their report and get out of the center in less than 20 minutes. And because of the kind of service levels we were able to give, hospitals and diagnostic centers actually increased their business by over 20% thanks to 5C. I think by now it should be obvious about why it makes sense for hospitals to, for example, work with 5C. And I'll just quickly go through this so that I can get to the meat of my presentation. We have basically built a large system of record, completely online, completely shareable, that allows the diagnosis of patients to be securely shared with every ecosystem player. So with surgeons and referring physicians, they get information the moment it's ready. We're always available for rapid emergencies. We greatly reduce the waiting time. And in India, in some of the places we have worked with, the waiting time used to be over 2 days. And we are now talking in terms of minutes and not even in hours, get days. And because of the kind of skill set that we bring in with our technology and services, hospitals and diagnostic centers are able to market themselves as centers of excellence. Like there are now hospitals in interior hamlets of the country that are now able to say that, hey, we have deep specialty expertise because of our integration with 5C. So this is briefly about 5C and all the work that we do. And I'm kind of going to transition a little more now towards what I believe is the value proposition. And I'm going to try to answer a few questions, right? This whole seminar that we're all waiting here is basically to understand how telecom service providers and connectivity service providers play a role in the healthcare and potentially the 5G ecosystem. And I'm here to tell you that, you guys are not just going to be playing a role. You guys are going to be Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, right? The rest of us are going to be the guys in the background here, except that this ship is not going to sink. We are definitely going to fly. And I'm going to talk about a few reasons first, why I believe that telecom service providers are going to be central to the adoption of a digital healthcare ecosystem in the world. And I'm going to start with the fact that, first of all, one of the exciting things about 5G is, and as a technical person myself, I find this just incredibly awesome, which is that with 5G coming up, the network is going to start becoming a part of the application. We've always thought about network as a horizontal layer and applications as vertical layers built on top of the network. But with network splicing now becoming a reality thanks to 5G, networks themselves will become parts of applications. And to drive adoption to these specialized applications, I think telecom service providers are going to play a massive role. And that's reason number one why you guys are front and center. The second reason why I think it is so important is because today, whether we like it or not, any application in the world competes against consumer internet applications in terms of user experience, right? So whether you're building an electronic health record or a radiology storage system or an electronic medical record or a radiology information system, the experience that your users are expecting is competing against Netflix, Uber, and WhatsApp, right? Which are the gold standards in great design and beautiful experiences. And people are already asking, honestly, if I can get a HD stream directly into my phone or my TV whenever I want, why can't I get my medical records and my CT scan images, right? And that's a very valid question. And 5G is going to be, and just telecom in general and 5G specifically, is going to play a huge role there. And finally, I think this is super important, which is that, and I've tried this with a few telecom service providers, even in India. And one of the things that I find is that enterprises do not have many touch points with telecom service providers because telecom service providers have limited themselves only to connectivity. So if connectivity is going well, no enterprise wants to talk to a service provider. And if connectivity is bad, then they get, all the disrespect in the world. But there is so much opportunity to bundle various services. And like I said, when I'm going to paint a picture to you guys, I'm going to try to tell you how your involvement is going to be front and center to this whole orchestra that we're trying to create. So with that out of the way, and with it being very clear as to why telecom service providers are so important in this ecosystem, I'm going to now transition towards the opportunities to revolutionize healthcare and what I call, and actually what the TM Forum calls, zero touch care, right? And how potentially 5G can deliver that. But I want to start, for all of you guys who are football fans, I'm going to give you an example of why we should start with our fundamentals in place. For all of you who are following Euro, and I hope you guys are following the English Premier League as well. Frank Lampard, who was the manager of Chelsea, was brought in with much fanfare and was fired when Chelsea was meandering. And once they got Thomas Tuchel, who was a veteran who really understood coaching and management, they turned their season around and won the Champions League. And the lesson that I got from here is that getting in Frank Lampard is great for the fans. It's amazing. But you put him out there and he was a spectacular failure. And the lesson that they taught me was that don't overreach when you do not have the ability, right? Frank Lampard's coaching career is probably in shambles, but if he had waited for a few years and got more experience under his belt, he could have been wildly successful, right? We want to be Pep Guardiola. We don't want to be Frank Lampard in coaching, right? So I'm going to talk about the steps that we need to take in order to realize the zero touch care dream. And it all starts with, very basic stuff. And I'm going to start right here to the middle and the left of my screen, which is the first thing that we all need to do is to realize that we need to create a system of record. And I'm implicating everybody on this call here, right? I'm implicating service providers, Kalilo, I'm implicating you guys because, Azure is so important here in order to store all these images at massive scale. And everybody is involved here. And the first thing, the first order of business in order to realize a connected healthcare, zero touch healthcare future is to build the basic system of record for healthcare, right? Better healthcare starts with access to prior data. And what we need to do is to really build a very simple to use system of record for all things diagnostics. It could even start with all things radiology, because radiology is usually the last frontier before any kind of intervention. So just building a system of record, storing, managing, and making accessible records is the first order of business. And I think that's what we should all look to start with. Now, the moment you build a system of record, you open up the gateway for access to specialists. And I'm going to give you another sports analogy, guys, please forgive me. But for all of you guys who watch basketball, Steph Curry is probably one of the best shooters ever. And if you need to pick someone to shoot one free throw to save your life, you're going to pick Steph Curry, and your life is probably going to be saved. But imagine getting Steph Curry into a stadium with no lights and asking him to just shoot the ball. He won't even know where the rim is. And that is exactly how a specialist would feel without prior data, right? But the moment you have a system of record and prior data, you unlock the opportunity to bring in on-demand specialists to actually come in, use prior data, and start delivering better insights. Now, once you have a network of specialists, you can leverage that network to start training existing people and actually build capacity in terms of expertise locally. So for example, we could take any, African country. The system doesn't change too much, right? Radiologists or specialists are always going to be in short supply, and that is the reality. But what if we are able to get on-demand access to specialists? And these specialists not only help diagnose patients, but also help train the existing people there and train a new set of radiologists and build capacity, right? If that third step happens, then what happens after that is market growth. Just imagine when there are a bunch of qualified radiologists in a country, along with external specialist access, the market for radiology is just going to expand. And this is where the GEs, the Philips, the Siemens, the Konicas, the Fujis of the world are going to say, wow, this is an exciting market and we need to get our equipment here, right? So countries that almost have no equipment will just completely expand into a much better healthcare ecosystem. And this is exactly what happened in India. Once you have large markets, people in the market are going to differentiate themselves because that is the way to survive. And that is where technology comes in. Without a large market and without a lot of people accessing and using the system, there is no role for technology, right? But once the market is established, people in the market are going to use the latest technologies in order to deliver a superior experience and be differentiated, be apart, be special, because that is how they can make a name for themselves. And I'll give you an example that I see in India. One of the things that we do in India is when we give our reports, all our reports contain a QR code. And when you scan that QR code, the images of the patient automatically open on your phone along with annotations by the radiologist, right? So if we detect a fracture, right, when you scan the QR code, it opens on your phone and you know exactly where the fracture is. And we found that so many of our clients started using this as a differentiator and started telling patients that, hey, and started telling patients and doctors that, hey, if you come to us, we're going to give you such a beautiful report. And it has these extra features of technology. And it's going to make your life a lot easier. And they started getting more business. And finally, if we get and we build an interactive system, a large market with the latest technologies, we can finally move into zero-touch healthcare, where everybody has connected devices with them. Imagine everybody wearing some kind of fitness tracker or an Apple Watch. And the moment somebody's BP goes higher or somebody's ECG reads abnormal and there's tachycardia, we immediately flag them to the nearest hospital or diagnostic center. They get all their detailed diagnostic tests done, and then we can suggest further treatment. Now, without any person being a roadblock to care, this fictitious person who has this wonderful fitness tracker in our world can get complete access from primary to tertiary care with basically no touch points, because everything is digital and everything is connected. And this is the vision. Everybody in this room, I'm sure, is looking to see how can connected devices play a role in our ecosystem. And my warning to all of you is that connected devices don't matter if there is no system of record, if there are no specialists, if there is no capacity, and if there is no market. And the dream is real. I really believe that we can get to zero touch care. But there are a lot of steps that all of us have to take in unison to get to that point. But I do believe that that time will come soon. All right. Finally, I'm going to try, like I said, to paint a picture about how, how CSPs and hospitals and potentially third-party specialization and technology providers like 5C can play a role here, right? Just imagine this time where a patient is sick, goes to a hospital or a diagnostic center. This is a data play, right? You can bundle consultations along with data. The patient can then get either a first opinion or a second opinion from 5C network. All this data will automatically be stored in the database so that it's accessible and available to the patient and any specialist of their choosing at any point. The team of doctors will diagnose this, give the report back within 45 minutes, right? So just with connectivity and a good system, we can already change the way healthcare is done. And I'm, like I said, I'm proud to say that in India, I'm seeing, the advantages of this. Daily, I get testimonials from some of our clients saying that, hey, this patient had a perforated bowel and we diagnosed it in 20 minutes. And so we were able to save this patient. And this, in my opinion, should be standard. But what's extra? What can we do with new technologies like 5G coming in, right? And I think this is where it gets exciting, right? Imagine an ambulance that goes to a patient who's suffering from, let's say, sudden cardiac arrest. If this ambulance goes there, the moment the patient is loaded into the ambulance, the ultrasound in the ambulance can automatically be streamed directly to a specialist thanks to 5G technology, thanks to low latency, close to zero latency. This is a reality. And if you take this one step further, you can potentially even do guided biopsies. Today, one of the main reasons why biopsies in developing countries is so rare is simply because there's no expertise to guide them. But with 5G coming in and with zero latency coming in, this is a legitimate use case. Like the ultrasound can be done at one end and the biopsy can be controlled or guided from somebody sitting completely remotely. And this opens my mind up to infinite possibilities. And this is the picture that I want to paint, to all of you, which is that the opportunities are endless. And in a connected world where we put in the systems everywhere from connectivity to storage to specialization access, the opportunities are endless. And I think this is where even a multimodal play, guys like Tecnotree are really going to play a massive role. And so I think that, it's for us to lose here. The opportunities here are endless. And I'd just like to end with that and say that, there is a strong use case for every level of clinical establishment, whether access is the problem or whether optimization is the problem or whether building leadership is the problem. There is a massive use case to be built along the lines of connectivity, data storage, and access to specialization. And like I said, the opportunities are endless. I think that's the refrain that just keeps going on in my mind. And it is the opportunity is for us to lose, guys. And if we work together, I think that healthcare will be better off. And the opportunity is for us to lose, and we owe it to the people to make the best use of it. So thank you guys for listening. And this is my vision for zero touch healthcare. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a dreamer. And this is what, keeps me up at night and gets me up early in the morning, because there is an opportunity to realize a new vision and build a new market and create value for people. So that's it from me. Thank you again for listening and for being such a wonderful audience, and looking forward to hearing questions, Ian, whenever we're ready.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kalyan. That was really really interesting. It's great to see how the opportunity there and how technology can really be used as a power for good in society. It's really great to see that. So thank you. Next up today, our next speaker is Sajan Joy Thomas. Sajan has over 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. He's currently the VP for the product office at Tecnotree, where he works with key global CSPs and advises them on their digital business transformation and the development of new and disruptive business models. So Sajan, thank you very much for joining us today. Just before you begin, I want very briefly to bring up the results of our first poll, just to get your thoughts on that. So very, very straightforward poll. We asked there, why are service providers, why do they think it's important to partner with enterprise businesses? As you can see, we kept it very simple: increase revenue, reduce costs, or improve agility. The winner there was increased revenue with just over half of the vote. So I'm just wondering, Sajan, is that sort of the results you were expecting, or were you thinking we might have seen other ones coming to the top there?
No, I think, thanks Ian for, first of all, for having me in the summit, and thanks to TM Forum and Tecnotree. So yes, Ian, in fact, I was expecting the revenue part to be on the higher side. And I think the part of the reason is because of the way the other businesses are challenged, and the new competition that has come up, and the dynamics of industry that has changed. And what I'll do is, when I go through some of these slides, when I'm talking about driving enterprise growth with customer-centric experiences, I would really touch upon all these aspects so that our audience in the summit does get a good view about what's happening in the industry.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us. I'll let you take it from here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. So the agenda that I'm going to talk about in the summit today is on the challenges and trends that we are seeing in B2B segment, the enablers and services that are driving enterprise transformation, and the enterprise transformation expectations by different personas or stakeholders in the environment of the CSPs. And we'll also talk about Tecnotree's digital enterprise manager that has been implemented in the different CSPs for reinventing the way the enterprise business is run and fueling growth in their revenues. And finally, I'll touch upon enterprise play in a digitally connected ecosystem. So first, I'll talk about the B2B segment challenges that we have seen. And as we all understand, that enterprise division used to exist as a muted business entity with a wait and watch kind of a thought process in the past. It had its own challenges as well. And the investment that was needed to build the entire ecosystem was huge. And we also had a disparate kind of an ecosystem. So some of the challenges that we have seen working with various CSPs in different markets is that there is a disjointed BSS ecosystem with high development cost and minimal configurations. The processes were all manually written, and there were hardwired journeys with limited flexibility for the CSPs to play around. A lack of multiplay offerings and bundles, limited control with the customers, delayed revenue realization. And one other aspect was also that a thought process that one shoe fits all approach, which was not really a solution-driven approach, but it was more of like a standards-driven approach, which may not work for all the enterprises. And the connectivity solutions, which often involved multiple steps, like you had to do a survey, we need to do a feasibility study, and then the implementation. All of this would take a minimum of 30 to 90 days, depending on various factors, such as the complexity of the design, the equipment, the workforce availability, and different teams getting involved in different steps of the process. And the tracking of the orders and the timely follow-up, all of these were different factors that were considered when we try to onboard and activate an enterprise services. However, with the operators looking to increase revenue with minimal investments, and with the entire paradigm shift that has happened with the digital transformation, the enterprise business has really seen an uptake in terms of a more proactive way of working, and with a need to focus specifically on transforming the enterprise business unit. Shift that has happened due to the pandemic and changes that are happening due to the consumer business segment has widely accelerated the transformation of some of these trends and has resulted in the way enterprise businesses have been managed. Some of the trends that we have seen post-COVID is obviously the changes in the business portfolio, the need to have higher bandwidth because everybody is now connected remotely, the digital nature of business having zero touch, speed and agility has become a necessity. And in terms of the changes in the consumer business, we have seen that the traditional services have become a bit stagnant, and there is a need to come up with new innovative services to keep the customers and increase the revenues. Then we also have to ensure that the good customer experience is provided to the customers and also ensure that they are not leaving the CSP space and they continue to be with the CSP, so there is reduced churn over there, and also provide seamless, secure, and convenient interaction to the customers. Moving on, the enablers and services that we have seen from an enterprise transformation process. So, if you look at the slide, these are the various kinds of enterprise services of connectivity, as well as other verticals that CSPs have been offering in their space. And enterprises are set to be the new revenue drivers for the CSPs, especially as they continue to expand into these ICT services and localize as per their market needs. Therefore, I believe it is imperative that the underlying BSS systems should be ready to support these ever-changing business models while also catering to the future 5G requirements. The BSS should equip the CSPs to go out and try as many business models as possible with the different types of scenarios. They should not have any limitation on the pricing policies or the integration possibilities, and the worry about having to do endless customizations. I think that is where the CSPs have to go, and that is why transformation in the enterprise segment is very important. ICT connectivities or connectivity related solutions, as we see over here, or provisioning of M2M related capabilities, enterprise services, VAS services. I think these are all the kind of services that enterprises have been enabling. And the key for the enterprise business unit is to have these kind of business enablers as part of their platform to provide this kind of an experience to their customers and to try and increase their revenues. So enablers like sales management, lead management, project management, the contracts management, having a CPQ capability, having an ability to launch multiplayer products and bundles, having the ability to do a study and work order with a catalog-driven order fulfillment product, having the flexibility through workflow orchestrations, having the flexibility in charging and billing models, the self-care, automated provisioning, and the enterprise wallet. And the business values that the CSPs are looking forward from these enterprise transformation is to increase the speed and agility by having automated lead to code to cash processes, having multiplayer and convergent offerings, smart contracts and SLAs, accelerating time to revenue and customer experience with flexible product bundling and real-time feasibility checks, and obviously to also reduce the cost, which is to reduce the capex and opex cost by having digital operations, having created reusable enablers, and adopting to the industry standards. Moving on to the next slide. While there is a top-down enterprise transformation expectation that the CSP has, it is also important to note that different stakeholders involved in the ecosystem have their own expectations from an enterprise business transformation. For example, account managers who are directly connected with the customers have to ensure that the customer management is done in a very appropriate manner and they keep their customers completely happy about it. So things like onboarding the customers, the hierarchy management, lead to cash process, resolving the disputes, and tracking the performance is very important for the account managers. The CRM team takes care of the customer interactions, and their expectation is to ensure that the experiences and the support that they provide to the customers is really quick, with low call handling time, with faster dispute resolution, and providing all the other information and support that the customer needs in real-time manner. The customer experience team, customer experience is one of the biggest criteria for the enterprise customer themselves. And the customer expects to have greater control and visibility over their services that they have subscribed to from the CSPs, have the option to have different kinds of pricing models and different kinds of personalization and the right kind of notification and alerts sent to the enterprise customers. Similarly, there is an expectation from the finance team on the revenue management side, from the operations team on the operational excellence, and from the marketing team in terms of time to market the enterprise products that are being launched in the CSP space. Okay, so Tecnotree's Digital Enterprise Manager is like a unified platform to modernize the B2B ecosystem. This platform has been designed considering all the complexities involved in enterprise services and is also implemented at different CSPs. It provides end-to-end BSS capabilities from the time a lead is identified till the entire life cycle of the customer. So this solution for enterprise business comes with all the business enablers that we talked about, like sales management and lead management, project management, enterprise catalog, CPQ, enterprise services onboarding, the 360 and trouble tickets, provisioning, the workflow orchestrator, and the enterprise wallet. Some of the KPIs that we have achieved in terms of our implementation is that we have reduced the product offerings by about 80%. So if there were about, let's say, 1,000 offerings that were created in the earlier system, now the offerings have reduced to less than 200. 60% acceleration in the product launch, the time taken to launch a product, 45% in terms of time to experience, 30% reduction in the time to revenue. 90% of the customer journeys are digitalized so that everything is accessible through the system and it is all automated. 100% application availability, flexibility in pricing, flexibility in the way discounts are offered, flexibility in the way the policies are configured, and also the option for the customer to be able to be charged once the billing, once a customer has done their UAT, and the billing is done only when the customer has accepted the system on their end. So we are proud to offer this digital enterprise manager for CSPs who are looking for enterprise business transformation in their particular OpCo. And this is a platform that has been already deployed across CSPs and who are already using it for their advantage and to improve their customer experience and their revenues. So on the next slide, what I will do is I'll play a short video on the Digital Enterprise Manager. Okay, this video provided a short glimpse of our Digital Enterprise Manager capability that is available to be used. Now, moving on from the current set of connectivity related services that the enterprises are providing, I think the whole idea for us in the summit was also to understand about extending B2B play towards a connected ecosystem. Considering the shrinking revenues from core connectivity businesses and the impact that the disruptive players have on this industry dynamics, I think CSPs must build new business models with adjacent verticals that will create new revenue streams with partners and help to offer new types of digital services bundles to empower the digitally connected ecosystems. We believe that these new experiences can be provided with this extended ecosystem. And I think CSPs are uniquely poised to bring this into life due to their last mile connectivity and the end-to-end journeys fulfillment capability that they already have. And I think also in the DTT survey of 2021, when we read about this, it was mentioned that expansion into new LOBs, ICT and verticals was amongst the top 3 priorities as per DTT 2021. Okay, when we talk about connected ecosystem, it is also important to talk about user experience, particularly in a digital world. And with the pandemic kind of a situation where we are staying connected through different channels has become our norm rather than a way of life. So most of these apps that we see here provide that omni-channel experience that the customers are really looking for. We at Tecnotree introduce you Tecnotree Moments, a B2B2X digital commerce platform that enables CSPs to bring together an ecosystem of connected digital partners and their services to provide unique experiences to their customers under one single platform. Using Tecnotree Moments, CSPs and DSPs can precisely design and deliver the digital services bundles using partner ecosystems that can support different personas and cater to a wide variety of customers. It ranges from the developer to the aggregator and CSPs, all the way up to enterprises or the end consumers for different products and services. The platform is micro apps enabled, which means that the customer can subscribe and experience a plethora of different vertical related apps under one umbrella. In addition, the CSPs can also bundle these services along with the telco services plan and provide them to their, offer them to their subscribers. Now, how do we do this? So the Tecnotree Moments is a pre-integrated application and a platform with partners integration that are offering B2B2X services. So if you see the slide, we have a set of pre-integrated partners that are working along with us, including 5C Network that you heard from Kalyan in the previous session. So Tecnotree Moments has pre-integrated the services with these partners to provide all these digital offerings to the CSPs. And CSPs have to hook in onto this platform in order to offer these digital services to their customers and provide these unified experiences and monetize them to increase their revenues. So the Moments platform takes care of the complete life cycle of the subscription, fulfillment, monetization, and engagement with customer by providing the business enablers such as the partner journeys, the centralized subscription management, the digital marketplace, campaign management, and the loyalty rewards. And moving on to my final slide, just have an issue. I'm not okay. Not able to move to the next slide. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so that was a short video that gives you a view of Tecnotree moments. And that's it from my side. Ian, thank you very much for the time. Thank you all the audience for attending the summit, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Sajan. Okay, we'll just move on very quickly. Next up, we have a brief interview with Omar bin Rashid from STC. Omar can't be with us today, so I met with him a few days ago and we discussed how STC is helping its enterprise customers accelerate their digital transformation. So Sarah, can you run the video, please? Hi, Omar. I'm delighted you've been able to make some time for us today. Good to see you. As you know, today we're going to be talking about the enterprise playbook and particularly how service providers can fuel the growth for their enterprise customers, both with technology enablers, but also by building a sort of a digitally connected ecosystem, building this partnership. But before we dive into that topic, perhaps you could take just a few moments to introduce yourself to the audience and a little bit about STC as well, please.
Hello, Ian. I'm Omar bin Rashid. I'm the ABU Digital Enablement GM in STC. So STC is the #1 service provider in Saudi Arabia. We are the digital enabler in the region, supporting different industries from healthcare, education, public and private sector. So in STC, we keep our attention to our customer needs, especially in this evolving and changing world. We are pioneer digital champion, always focusing on innovation and evolution. We offer our services in ICT as well digital services in multiple categories.
So in obviously your home market is Saudi Arabia, and we've got a broad audience on with us today, but it'd be good to hear from you. You know, what are the particular challenges and ambitions in Saudi Arabia at the moment? You know, so what is going on? What are these changes, and how are STC responding to those?
Here, so basically, in STC we are determined to play our leading role as the leading regional ICT champion and national champion as well, and we are supporting the nation vision 2030, an ambitious vision for ambitious nation, as well as our local customers' need. So we provide different services across different categories. We provide mobility, fixed, managed services, and digital, including cloud and IoT, as well as cybersecurity services. So those services are provided to meet our local need and make sure that we are fueling and enabling the Vision 2030 in a proper way.
Okay. And sorry, go ahead.
One last thing. Yeah, sorry. Regarding our customer needs, so in STC we pay our attention and make sure that we deliver a world-class service, and we focus more into, beside our service and product, into our customer journey, and make sure that we are adopting the latest and best practices around the world, like human-centric design and designing the customer journey, as well as adopting latest technology like artificial intelligence to make sure that our service is provided in world-class way.
Okay, thank you. Just before we move on, you mentioned Vision 2030. Certainly, I suspect a number of people listening to this might not have heard of Vision 2030. This is a countrywide vision. This isn't just a telecoms thing. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Vision 2030 is a nationwide vision that has different objectives and programs. So it's the ambitious of the nation to achieve their progress through achieving multiple KPIs starting from 2015 till 2030. So we as an STC, as a service provider, we make sure that we enable the nation and our customers who are supporting the nation achieving their objective with our services and products.
Okay, so certainly a lot going on, and I'm sure you're delighted to be part of that. So turning our attention particularly to how service providers support your enterprise customers, maybe just tell us a little bit more specifically about what STC is doing for these customers. And, you know, are there any specific verticals you're working in more than others, or are you working right across the board with your ICT work?
So basically, Ian, we are supporting and enabling different verticals with different products. As I mentioned, our products is customized, and designed to fit the customer need in different verticals. As I mentioned, we have services in fixed and mobile services. As well, we offer managed services, IoT and cloud, and cybersecurity for different verticals. For example, in the health sector, we have our own specified verticals that enable and fuel this sector and make sure it's fulfilling their objective in a more effective and operational way.
So just wanting to, it's always good to hear a bit more about, you know, specific projects. So can you tell me a little bit more about some of the work you're doing in maybe one of those particular areas?
Good. So I'll speak about the theme of this summit, which is maybe focus more on the healthcare. So in the healthcare, we provide different digital services to help the healthcare providers in Saudi Arabia, including the Ministry of Health, digitizing and facilitating their work and the work of their staff and medical facilities in more effective and operational way. We are ensuring also the business continuity, especially with this circumstances that we had during the past year from working at home and having this the daily work delivered in what I call, in more effective way without having this disruption to the services. So we are providing one of the services we call virtual clinic that allow the patient and the doctor communicate with each other in a secure and efficient way. This also, beside, allowed the doctor to deliver their service from home last year. It's allowing the patient from rural area to reach to the right, medical expertise in no time, digitally, remotely, without having been collocated with them. Also, we provide EMI service, which allow the healthcare provider facilities to store, manage, and maintain the X-rays and other medical records of their clients in a secure, cloud-based way that allow them also to expedite their processes by having their expertise from all around the nation. Providing this medical expertise and feedback in timely manner, since all those records are cloud-based and accessible from anywhere. Moreover, we are supporting the emergency staff with a push-to-talk service that allow them to reach each other in a secure way, as well as maintaining their effectiveness through the service. It's more effective, more convenient for them.
So maybe just dig into some of that in a little bit more detail. So, obviously the health service have their requirements to meet the needs of their clients, their patients. But, so what was it that STC was providing? Was it the cloud, the security side of things? What was the services you were providing as part of that? Maybe just drill into it a little bit more detail. Yeah,
let me just maybe give an example from one of our long-term relationship. So we have our own long-running partnership with the Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia. We are capitalizing on our different capabilities to support and enable our partner through providing secure patient data store over the cloud, allowing those records to be easily accessed by relevant hospitals network in a secure and proper way. Also, we are providing, supplementing our service with a wide range of managed network service for the hospitals and healthcare center all around the country, make sure that we provide the service in a seamless and connectedness and secure way for our partner. This enables them to deliver their services in highly efficient and highly effective operational manner.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit, we've touched on it here about partnerships, and obviously when you're building this relationship with an enterprise business, there's an ecosystem which need to be created. There's the end user. If we're talking about health, that's the patients. There's the enterprise business itself, the health service. There's yourselves as a communication service provider. Obviously, there's also a lot of technology providers in part of that as well. So I'd just really like to get your thoughts on the role of, or the importance, if you like, of this partnership. And when we're creating enterprise services, how do you build a partnership between the enterprise customer and yourselves and the technology providers? You know, what I guess in brief, what makes a partnership successful?
So in STC, we partner with the technology leader to fulfill our customer needs and make sure that we have the latest and the cutting edge technologies that provide solutions for our customers. In order to achieve this, we make sure that we have a successful partnership. I believe the right mix to have this successful partnership is having a partnership. It's more a relation than a partnership, and we need to put the customer needs ahead of us and make sure we build our partnership around an objective. As well, we need to consider investing in our building our talent as STC and the local talents, and make sure that we are building the future digital leader for the country as well.
Just very briefly, in terms of the talent, are there particular skills you've felt you've needed to grow more of as these partnerships have developed? Are there particular types of talent that you're needing?
So in STC, we have our own digital academy, or our own academy, which is STC Academy. STC Academy is working with, very closely with our internal sectors, alongside with our leadership, just to make sure that we have the right plans and right development tracks for our talents, including from starting from joining the company as a tipper, which is entry join, until they reach the highest potential positions as a high potential. So the role of building the partnership is really in our DNA as a company, and we make sure that we enable as well the country or the nationwide with those talents in the different domains. For example, we are focusing more into the cutting technologies, developing our talents and the technologies like the 5G, cloud, and IoT, and so on, and make sure that we have this space of the talent for ourselves for our internal teams, as well as for the nation, as a part of our supporting to the Vision 2030, that make sure that the country achieving their objectives.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we're just about out of time for this brief conversation. Before I finish, there's something I always like to do in any interview or any panel session, and that's to leave you with an opportunity to just have a closing word for our audience. The audience today are largely service providers, and they're supporting enterprise customers. So is there a word of wisdom, a word of advice that you would like to leave with them to take away today that's going to help them in their job?
I believe the main point is that the world is constantly evolving and changing. The disruption is everywhere. We need to focus onto the innovation and the evolution, and make sure that we are really a service provider, the enablers for the others to achieve their objectives. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time today, Umar. I'm sure the audience will have enjoyed that as much as I have. And I hope we will get a chance to talk together again in the future. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, thank you. Right, we've reached the mysterious part of our agenda. So before the final speaker, I just want to introduce Amit Kumar, who's going to
introduce us to what the treat is for today.
All right, thank you, Ian. And thank you all for joining the summit today. And we hope you're finding it insightful and worth your time. Considering the fact that a lot has changed in the last 1.5 years, we in telecom industry are doing our best to support the world. But somewhere I feel that that because of this changed ecosystem, our focus towards the planet and the environment has slightly reduced. And using today's gathering as an opportunity, Tecnotree is partnering with Shildrick Wildlife Trust in Kenya. This is one of the Africa's oldest wildlife sanctuaries and charities which helps in conservation, preservation, and protection of endangered species. So let us see what this trust does and what do we have in store for you all.
The story of Wendy began back in 2002 when she was rescued from a Mandy forest 13 years ago. The Shildrick were contacted and they came for the baby. She was just a few days old, so tiny.
Well, when she arrived in the nursery, of course, she was so newborn that I don't think she ever would remember a mother. She was incredibly fragile, and every single day we weren't sure that she was actually going to make it through the nursery even.
She didn't have knowledge of elephant family until she went back to the wild. She just came to learn who she was when she grew up. And now, 5 years after leaving the world, now she has come with a baby. To see Wendy all through her years and now having her own baby, the same size she was 13 years ago. It makes me happy.
Today we have a record number of infant elephants in the Nairobi nursery that will be walking the same path as Wendy, that need the same intensive care in the nursery, and eventually will branch into wildlife in the fullness of time. To see Wendy as a mother to little Weaver today is a great joy to us and a great accolade to all the people that have supported the Orphans Project by fostering an elephant and giving us the wherewithal to offer these animals a second chance of life.
So there are hundreds of animals like Wendy who are dying every day because they're not getting the special care that they need in this young age. And through this partnership with the trust, we aim to have a bigger impact on African wildlife, a continent which is very close to Tecnotree. While this is an initiative to save wildlife, we also want all of us to be more cognizant about the wildlife and the nature. And as a part of this program, Tecnotree is adopting one animal on behalf of each of you today. So we are adopting one animal for 1 year on behalf of each of you today. It will be taken care on your name with you getting adoption certificate and periodic updates on the growth as well as the welfare of the orphan animal that the trust is taking care of. You will also be provided a link to check it online anytime on the portal of this trust. We thank you for giving us a reason to contribute to this noble cause and help protect Africa's threatened wildlife. That's all I wanted to share. If you have anything to say about this, please leave a feedback in the comment section. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the summit. Back to you, Ian.
Thank you very much, Amit. Now that was certainly a change of subject, and it's great to see the work that's going on there. It's a really great initiative. So our final speaker today is Charles Mulapisi. Charles has been the CIO for MTN Nigeria, then the CEO for MTN Zambia, and he's now the Group CTIO for MTN Group. So I cannot think of a better person to really talk about this topic today, this enabling digital enterprises in Africa. So welcome, Charles, and over to you. If you'd like to take it from here.
Well, good morning and good afternoon to everyone. I'm afraid I'm not Charles. I don't look like Charles. I'm not actually Charles in person. I'm very unfortunate that Charles had an emergency that he couldn't get out of. So my name is Nikos Angelopoulos. I'm the Group CIO MTN Group. So I'm working very closely with Charles, and I hope to have a good job as he would have done being in this session today. So my role, basically, I joined MTN 3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago, and I'm responsible for all the information technology aspects of MTN Group across the whole of the group.
Thank you very much for stepping in at such short notice. Yes, when your camera turned on there, I thought that's not Charles. I was a bit surprised. But you're happy enough to take it from here then? Are you
Absolutely, no problem at all.
I will leave it over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have this chance to talk to you about MTN and how MTN is looking at the enterprise. As I said, I work for MTN Group. I'm responsible for all information technology, and it's a great honor and a great pleasure to be part of this organization. One of the very fundamental things that actually makes us work and get us excited is what you see there at the top. I mean, our belief statement that everybody deserves the benefits of a modern, connected life. And that could not be more relevant and more topical than in the last couple of year and a half that we are all going through the pandemic across the world. The connection is actually a matter of life. It's not just a connected life. It's actually the connection and the ability to operate in the world through telecom is actually a matter of life and livelihood for many of us. MTN, for those of you who don't know, is a quite sizable organization. We have approximately 280 million customers across the 20 countries we operate in, predominantly in Africa and in the Middle East. And recently, as we announced our annual results for 2020, we also shared with the world our view about our strategic intent that we call Ambition 2025, which basically sums up the real intent of the company, which is basically to lead Africa through its digital transformation and provide the solutions that change people's lives, consumers as well as our enterprise customers across all the operations that we have. And here you see the priorities and the pillars of how we believe that we are going to be able to deliver to this ambition, which basically is by moving the company towards becoming a real platform business. And I will explain what I mean by that. In terms of how we address the market, how we are enabling the market and the ecosystems that operate in the continent and outside of the continent, to actually create value for all the stakeholders, create a transformation opportunities for all the stakeholders, and basically enable people from connectivity as well as services and products that are going to be relevant for their digital journeys. The way we look at the company and how we want to move towards to pivot towards a platform organization, of course supported by the core business, which is connectivity, is we have identified 5 areas or 5 platforms, as we call them, that actually really hope that it transforms how MTN as an operator will enable the societies. The first one is the mobile money, or overall what we call the fintech solutions. Some of you may know, but it's not necessarily a widely known fact. MTN has approximately, probably closing now to 50 million fintech mobile money customers. That makes us probably the largest bank in the continent, and probably the largest telecom operator in the world that is managing, or one of the largest that is managing, mobile money services to its customers. And the opportunity that this creates to connect people, unbanked people, transfer money, enable societies, it's really, really a very, very big transformational opportunity that's available in the world we operate in. The second big platform is about digital services overall, and we capture there anything that is basically reflects to how the organizations can actually take advantage of digital capabilities that may not be able to do themselves. For example, one of our flagship products is what we call IOBA. IOBA is an instant messaging platform built in Africa, made in Africa, for Africa, and basically creates a place and a platform for consumers and businesses to actually interact through communication, but also through trade for what they offer to each other. The core part of today's presentation will be enterprise services and how we look the business segment of the world and how we enable businesses in the continent through capabilities like UCC mobility and others in order for them to be able to flourish and actually grow better and better in their environments. A super big initiative as a platform is our intent to actually offer our network, which clearly is one of the biggest assets we have, as a service through cloud capabilities and through 5G evolution in order for other organizations to also take advantage and be able to develop their own products and services. And last but not least is what we call Genosis, which is basically the idea that the continent would benefit from an API marketplace where everybody can actually, all the development community and all the telecom operators and other providers can join in one single place to basically create an API environment, an API inventory where everybody can benefit from others' APIs and build more innovative and more rich and more relevant capabilities and services products for the consumers and the businesses. So these are the 5 platforms that we believe are going to drive us to 2025, and I will talk more specifically about enterprise services. Now, all of these platforms really need the super strong support of what we call one network, because without the network, there's not much we can do. One API layer, where basically we are enabling all the platforms to be able to interact with other layers within the organization through a single API exposed layer. And recognizing the value of data, one very, very big data lake across all the organizations, all the operating companies we're using. Currently, I can just share a data point. We are processing more than 3 trillion records a month. We believe that's probably one of the largest data sets you can find in the world that enables people to extract value and insights and enable decisions and customer experience for all the segments and all the services we have through one data lake. Now, moving forward, in order to deliver the platforms, we have actually identified and structured our technology programs, our technology strategy into 28 initiatives that span across operations, network, technology, IT, cloud, 5G, security, even green projects, innovations, and so on and so forth. And of course, the EBU elements, which is basically the ones you see here on the middle with the orange characteristic, which basically there's 4 key programs that actually totally dedicated targeting enterprise services. So one way for us to target the enterprise business segment is by having very, very specific programs that are specifically focused on the needs of this particular segment. Looking at our customers, and I very much echo the point of the previous speaker about putting our customer needs first and understanding what our customers facing and how they will be successful in their endeavors. This period probably is one of the most challenging periods, and I know that people say this is a cliche, but I really believe that the mix of challenges in the last 20 months is actually unheard of and unprecedented. So the challenge that a small, medium, or even large enterprise has, especially in the continent of Africa, is really, really difficult to overcome. So they have a lot of uncertainty that comes together. So on top of everything else that every other organization has in the rest of the world, they also have very, very significant challenges around, for example, the stability of the currency, or the commodity price fluctuation, or the lack of skills, or the access to skills and the competencies that other organizations need to flourish in this ever-changing environment and the digital journeys they need to go for. The workforce mobility is very difficult, as well as, of course, the customer needs and the new the new ways of work that have been prevailing through the COVID pandemic since the start of last year. So it's a quite challenging environment. Plus, of course, you have the threats that come through the internationalization of services, through cloud access, through other players coming into play in the turf. The technology proliferation, of course, has the characteristic that it actually flattens the barriers to entry. So now, it becomes a more level, bigger, and open playing field, and all our business customers have to operate in this new challenging environment. Now, the way we look at how we help and how we address our enterprise customers, and just to give an idea, MTN has a very sizable business in the enterprise segment, more than 17-18 billion rand of revenue, thousands of customers, with quite a few of the customers being, big multinationals like AB InBev, the largest brewer, the largest bottler in the world, or Standard Bank. So MTN is quite a big entity when it comes to the enterprise segment of the overall environment. And the way we are structuring ourselves so far has been, of course, go to market through direct and indirect channels, like many other organizations. And then, of course, we have the core mobile business segment, where it's basically the responsibility of this segment is to create and develop products and solutions, predominantly living from the core and mobile. But increasingly, we believe that the solution selling the solution offerings to these customers would be even more valuable, and consistency of these customers, consistency of the implementation of these customers is actually super important for quality as well for profitability for us, to be honest. So what we have done recently, and I can share now, is that we have basically decided to create what we call a business center of excellence. So we are going to organize all our EBU facing, customer facing, as well as development capabilities under a single center of excellence that will take care and manage the capability building across our offerings, whether it's cloud or security offerings or communication services or IoT or managing networks or anything, as well as the go-to-market sales and service of these offerings and the customers we're addressing. So this is a very, very new initiative. It's actually in the making as we speak now. It's just been established in South Africa, and we are reorganizing ourselves and our colleagues and our teams so that they can be part of a single center of excellence, managing this for all our MTN footprint across all of the countries we operate in. And we believe this is a pivotal change that allows us to be more successful in this segment. Of course, I just want to make sure that it's really important to recognize that the connectivity doesn't go away, and without connectivity, you don't really have much to talk about, because it's really important to see how things are actually getting connected across the different physical locations. And one of the biggest segments of our business is actually the connectivity part through the assets we have, both dry and wet assets. MTN operates probably around 100,000 kilometers, if not more, of fiber across the continent. And it's super important for allowing us to be able to deliver the ambitions, the services, and the customer experience we want to these customers. We have made a super big investment and collaboration with Facebook recently for the 2 Africa cable that will enhance even further the capacity, and we're participating in more than 15 submarine cables as well to allow us to go around the countries, around the continent. We are also investing heavily in connecting the countries inside the continent, and the landlocked countries also deserve and have to have connectivity. And we offer, at least, I think it's 45, if not more, POPs in 30 countries, 29 countries, to enable everybody to participate and exist and collaborate and offer their products and services in the continent. So we believe this very, very strong role of the connectivity in this journey. The products and the services we are offering are basically, our propositions are basically clustered around 5 pillars, and you can see them there. I'm not going to go through them. We're talking about managing networks, in unified communications of all types and services. Of course, cloud more and more, and enabling the journey of our customers to adopt cloud communications and cloud services wherever they can. It makes financial sense for them. Security is super big, super important, and you cannot forget it. And of course, Internet of Things, especially relevant in the countries we operate in. And we see very, very good traction and very big interest from all the segments, from the public sector, from SOHOs and SMEs, all the way to multinationals and large enterprises, or a big number of these things. Of course, different customer segments have different interest in these products, but there is a very, very good traction, and we see a lot of energy in the continent around this field. In addition to the services, we also believe and build continuously our technical capability on the mobile network, and you see 5G is going to become more and more prevailing. Of course, we are behind the rest of the world, but I think it's important to be timely rather than making early investments. But we have already launched, South Africa is already a 5G-enabled country. It has already a good coverage. And we see already our customers picking up 5G services and 5G capabilities. And we believe there is a super big opportunities in different segments, and we'll probably see in the next 12 months more and more interest in private networks, more and more interest in vertical solutions, especially relevant in in mining or manufacturing or agriculture, in the areas we operate in. It's going to be quite a journey. It's going to be quite a ride in the next 12, 18 months as we pick up and start doing 5G things that matter for our customers. The way we structure I talked about the COE before. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I just wanted to make sure that, in the interest of transparency, that the way we're structuring the COE and the way we believe we're going to create capability is, of course, it has to be in an agile way. It's going to be platform driven. And we really need to make sure that we connect the demand side of our customers and listening to our customers to the development cycle from ourselves, and the operational capabilities we have to be able to operate and support our customers so that they can take benefit in a predictable way, and they can actually be enjoying reliable service up to the point they need, and they can actually monetize these services for their own purposes. And of course, it goes without saying that this kind of capabilities we are building and talking about in the price segments are predominantly ecosystem driven. We are not going to discover or build things ourselves. We rely heavily on participating in ecosystems and partnering with a number of partners, technology providers, like your host here today, Tecnotree, and others that we are talking about, packaging and building capabilities that we can take to the market and serve our customers' needs. Just to give you a feel of the number of partners that we have used in the existing offerings and how we build them up, ranging from integration all the way to IoT, we are trying to get a very good recognition of the value that very big partners like the Microsofts, the Oracles, and the Googles, and the Amazons, and everybody else of the world can take, as well as very specialist players, that you can see some of them here, to actually enable us to provide and structure very, very relevant and very useful services and products for our enterprise customers, wherever they might be, and regardless of whether they are, large multinationals operating in multiple countries, or a SOHO or a SME, so small medium enterprise in a country that tries to make, the living for their shareholders. So all in all, we are super proud to be able to enable the digital evolution and the growth of the market segment in Africa, and we look forward to continue supporting these businesses in their daily struggles and their transformation as we possibly can.
Thank you very much. In all the panic at the start when you come up, I forgot to take a note of your name. Sorry.
I'm Nikos. Just call me Nikos. Nikos Angelopoulos.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nikos. I forgot to write that down as soon as you started talking. It went in one ear and out the other. But thank you very much for stepping in at short notice. We've now reached the panel discussion. So if all the panelists can turn their videos back on. And Nikos, a question for you. Charles was going to be part of our panel. You are certainly very, very welcome, because it would be good to hear from MTN. So you're welcome to stay around. If you're thinking, no, you'd rather not, please just
No,
let
it's
me know.
okay.
Yeah,
there's very little damage I can do. It's fine.
And I will do my best not to direct any questions to Charles. I'll have to remember. But if I do, I mean you. So we'll get started. Throughout the panel discussion, we're going to be running a number of audience polls as well. It's always interesting just to get those. They'll be running in the background. So, you know, as you're watching here, if a poll pops up, please just fill it in. We just literally like to take the temperature of what's going on and take a few seconds. So do please take a few seconds to complete the poll. So obviously, Nikos and Kalyan are staying with us for the panel. They are joined by Padma Ravichander, the CEO of Tecnotree, Khalilo Khan, Middle East and Africa Industry Lead for Telecoms and Media from Microsoft, and Girish Kupal Krishnan, the Executive Business Head for GE Healthcare. So welcome to you all. So let's start. We've not a great deal of time left, so we'll get through a few questions, I think, here. I really want to start with a broad question. And Padma, if I could start with you, just really very broad question. What do you consider are the key challenges facing the enterprise businesses today?
Thank you, Ian, and welcome to all the audience here today. It's a real pleasure to participate in such an exciting discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed all of the speakers. In terms of challenges, we heard a lot today, but I really believe that enterprise today is challenged for resilience, especially post-COVID, particularly for consistency and performance. And if you think for a moment, if that is a challenge today, they also, in addition, need to plan for 5G and IoT-enabled futures today. That's going to be the life tomorrow. Because 5G and IoT, I believe, is gaining a lot of momentum, and it's going to be very hard for many types of enterprises to ignore the implications. And they need to plan, articulate, and execute a very, very powerful vision for their 5G place in the universe and their organization's capability to build and implement new use cases for their businesses, ranging from using things like AI, ML, robotics, edge computing, AR, VR, quantum computing capabilities in their businesses. And when they do build out such use cases, they need to focus on multiple aspects of their business as an enterprise, but not just limited to things like supply chain management, in things like digitization in the area of infrastructure management and monitoring. They have to look to create new immersive customer lifecycle management and feedback capability in 5G. They need to look at system and process automation, which is purely digital, which is purely zero touch. They need to look at predictive and proactive operations across the board, and then look for personalized and intelligent-driven services that provide, greater sort of personalization in terms of the products and goods that they serve to their customers. Therefore, I think enterprises will need to re-innovate and build new, strong ecosystem of partners and suppliers to create new vertical and regional self-contained communities. So this is what I believe is the real challenge in front of them.
Apologies, forgot to come off mute. Thank you very much, Padma. Just the same question to Khalilo, from sort of Microsoft's point of view. What are you seeing as the challenges? Is there anything you would add to that?
Yeah, so thank you first of all, and welcome. It's been a really exciting event so far, and listening to all the speakers has been very thoughtful. I think what we are starting to see now is that computing is becoming embedded everywhere around us, and every organization, small or large, actually in every country, transforming how we are interacting with people, places, and things. And as physical and digital worlds kind of converge, what I think we'll require is more sovereignty and decentralized control. And what I think is the result of all of this is that we'll see kind of exponential growth in compute capacity. And that will actually require a radical change in computing architecture. And at Microsoft, we believe that 5G, cloud, and edge are really going to help to evolve to meet all of those real world needs.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's leading on actually to my next question quite nicely. And just while I'm asking this question, Chelsea, if you could bring up the next audience poll just to get everybody looking at that as well. My next question is really wanting to move beyond the challenges that are being faced and really start to think about the what do the service providers do about this? How do they meet those challenges? How do they help the customers? And Nikos, I'd like to come to you with this one from an MTN point of view. How do you feel as a service provider you actually support the enterprises to actually achieve their goals?
Look, I mean, we firstly aim to serve practically every segment that is out there. I mean, whether it's ranging from, you know, heavy manufacturing, transport, logistics, all the way to education, healthcare, you know, all this. I mean, we serve every possible segment out there. Now, what happens is we aim and strive to be not just a telecom provider, but also a technology provider to our partners, to our customers. So we will provide, you know, any managed network kind of capability, all the way to services, all the way to even Microsoft products or other people's products, and collaborate extensively with third parties to create solutions that allow smaller and medium businesses, as well as large enterprises, to actually adopt technology in the best possible way for their own purposes and their own intent. So we really strive to provide predictability and resilience. To Padman's point, I think one of the challenges is the ability to operate in a resilient and stable and predictable way, both as customers and for the customers of our customers, which is also another way to look at it. And therefore, we believe that, you know, with super robust and reliable telecoms communication capability infrastructure and value-added services ranging from payments to messaging to technology platforms, you know, healthcare solutions, whatever it might be, we enable our customers in every segment they are in be successful in their field.
Okay, right, and I think we've let the poll run for long enough there. If we could just bring up the results of that very quickly. It was a very simple poll. Hopefully we had a few answers back. So if we can bring up the poll, and Girish, if I could come to you, really just wanting to first of all think about the results of this poll. Maybe we haven't let it run for long enough, but if it can come up on the screen, if not, we will carry on anyway. Well, yeah. Oh no, I think I've got the previous one. But we were asking, you know, which sectors, particularly which verticals, do we see that the opportunities are going to be? And you can see there, entertainment, sports, and gaming just out in front, which certainly from my point of view is quite interesting. Girish, obviously you're coming from healthcare, so I suppose my first question is, in terms of that poll result, is it what you were expecting to see? The results are fairly even, but there's a little bit of a lead. And really, I'd like you to continue on to think, what are the business trends and what are the technology trends that you're seeing that you think are actually transforming how we do business in this space at the minute?
Well, Jan and team, thanks for the invite, first off, and for the great session so far. So I think the poll results, well, I think gaming and entertainment, I'm not surprised, primarily because it's probably less regulated relative to a lot of other fields that we really speak about. So when it comes to trends in healthcare, I just wanted to say that enterprises are, or enterprise customers are of two types. Really, it could be large hospitals, diagnostic centers, or the medtech companies itself, right? So if you look at hospitals, the two big things that we are noticing are, number one, the patient care is moving outside the hospitals. And number two is there is accelerated consolidation, more from M&As, but it is a business trend that we need to be cognizant about because it is happening across geographies. And these two trends have a massive impact on how interactions are and will happen with the technology and communication service providers and enterprises. So first off, when you look at patient care shifting outside hospitals, it means that the walls of the hospitals are being broken through telemedicine, through teleradiology, through virtual care, remote patient monitoring, and much, much more every day. And for all of this, the enterprises, this is new and uncharted territory. So what it means is, there are complexities on legalities, on technology, there's complexities on geographies, boundaries, and much more. So effectively, CSPs are no more treated as vendors, but they're naturally going to become partners, solution providers, and are literally expected to walk this journey together. So that's on the care shifting outside hospitals. And if I were to talk a little bit on consolidation, consolidation of health systems that you're seeing across the globe, primarily due to financial pressures, and that may be a good or bad thing. But what is good is the opportunities that come out of this consolidation, because it's going to eliminate fragmentation. There is, more deeper centralized decision making, deeper centralized pockets, as well as opportunities for scale when it comes to technology and innovation. So that's really on the hospital side, Ian. And I wanted to make one quick point on the other side, which is medtech companies, may it be large companies like GE, Siemens, Philips, or Medtronic, J&J, or Intuitive Surgical, company that's into robotic surgeries. All of them are investing heavily on smart devices, edge capabilities, and also a lot on intelligence. And the want is to monitor the health of all of these devices that are out there, and predictively start looking at failures. And this obviously entails connectivity of hundreds and thousands of devices for good data. So when it comes to medtech technologies, I think the real opportunity is with these companies, the engagement has to happen much, much earlier, at the innovation stage, at the product design stage. So I'll just leave with one example that we have done as GE. We have a research campus in Niskayuna, which is upstate New York. And just last month, we have joined hands with Verizon to install 5G ultra-wideband network. So what that means is, eyeing at a broad array of applications. So including remote monitoring in the space of healthcare, control of wind farms in the space of energy, and maintenance of aircraft engines in the space of. This is clearly an example of the mindset switch that CSPs are going from 5G first to application first or business first, and really are getting deeper into verticals and talking the common language. So, I mean, that's just a glimpse of the trends, Ian, and changing how enterprises do business and where there's scope for interactions and collaborations. Back to you.
Okay, there's certainly been a lot of change going on that's come out, I think, in all the speakers today. And one of the themes which has come out a lot has been this need for a new partner ecosystem. Kalyan, if I can come to you first, really, about this. How have you found how important do you feel building that partner ecosystem is? And I guess really more important for our audience, how do you successfully build a really strong partnership between your own company, your service providers, your technology providers, your clients?
Thanks, Ian. I'll jump straight into it. it is of paramount importance to build that partnership ecosystem, because healthcare is a digital healthcare is a complex subject, right? It's not as simple as even something like gaming. And I'm gonna come at it from the healthcare perspective because I'm so steeped into that. But if you look at a service like healthcare, you need not only guys on the telecom side or guys on the IT side, like Microsoft or Amazon or whoever is running that, but you also need software in the middle. You need people who are making this possible, guys like Tecnotree for everybody. And then you need also partners like 5C to go build this in. So if I look at it from my perspective, right, is it easier to build a go-to-market strategy and just hammer on every door in Africa, or is it easier to work with a partnership ecosystem in order to get access to the market? It's obviously the latter. And in the same way, is it easier for a telecom service provider to be able to build in capabilities to bring in, like, for example, so many different applications, or is it easier for them to just partner with someone and use their strengths and their go-to-market existing capabilities in order to leverage this? So it's obvious, the answer is very obvious. And so I think that one, it is of paramount importance. How do you actually go building that, and what works? I think I have cliched answers, but obviously trust works, and excellence works, right? You want to be associated with those partners that are known in the market, or whose products are so good that that they're not going to bring you down. And I think the biggest risk in any partnership model is the weakest link. So and the weakest link is always going to be failure of service. And so if you bring in partners who in the end don't deliver, your own name gets comes down. Your own ability to inspire your clients into buying new services and new products comes down. And so I think that transparency and really being excellent at what you do is, if you're not excellent at what you do, you should not look for partnerships, because you will sink yourself and you will sink your partner, right? And so I think that that is the way to do it. You need players whose job it is to build partnerships, and without that it will be very difficult. And so I think that the ecosystem, for example, that's on this call, has an opportunity to be successful, because there is every player, each of whose interest is existing, and who can also get somebody else who has an adjacent interest, and so we can build synergies together.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think we all know the importance of building these partnerships. Very briefly, Padma, if I could just come to you, if it was easy, we would have all done it by now. So I want to really think a little bit about the barriers. I won't bother launching the poll, we don't have time, but we talked in advance, is the technology mature enough? Are service providers, do they have too much legacy systems? Is there troubles with commercial models and how financial systems are set up? Is it a cultural change? Do people need to change? What would you see as the barriers, the really things that we need to break down if we're going to be very successful in this area? You're on mute.
Okay, sorry.
Well,
thank you, Ian. And I think that this is a very important aspect. Everybody's talking about digital transformation and becoming digital, but nobody's asking the question why, because I really believe the world tomorrow is a very different place. And the pandemic we've gone through is just an onset of a new world that we are entering, where enterprises will have to transform their mindset from being supplier of goods and services to becoming an ecosystem player. And they will have to realize that the true impact and business value they are going to bring to the world is going to be based on shared outcomes. It's not going to be based on individual competitive outcomes, but creating new bundled offerings, multi-experience offerings, new types of interesting revenue models and pricing models to take their goods and services to market. If you look at Tecnotree Moments, and what we have done to realize this vision is we have started partnering with health, sports, media, entertainment, education, and fintech industries across the globe to build new interesting models. and product offerings for multi-experience bundles that the CSP can start offering to their subscribers in very differentiated subscription-based models and revenue models. And we are very excited about the possibilities that brings. But what does it take to deliver a great partnership? I think it's very important that everybody in the ecosystem underlines and creates a new vision to energize opportunities and possibilities that 5G and IoT can offer. They have to build, all of us have to build new use cases and new business models that are holistic, that can touch all parts of the enterprise with very relevant and powerful complementary capabilities. And finally, internally in every organization, we have to improve competency and capability building. And I think Nikos really nicely touched upon the competency and the center of excellence that they're trying to do in MTN, which is very far and strategic thinking to ensure that your enterprise is capable of the new world and the new ecosystem play that it brings, because it's going to be a connected world of collaboration, cooperation, and co-opetition, which is very different from where we have been in the past. So I'm really looking forward to this exciting new world.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot. Well, we are just about out of time. Normally at the end of a panel, I like to go to everyone and say sort of what's your final nugget of wisdom you'd like to leave. Unfortunately, we do not have time. And I know if we go over the hour, we're going to just be losing everybody in the audience. So it does bring us to the end of today's session. I do hope that you have found what we've done today informative and useful. And I'd just like to thank all of our speakers, Kalyan, Padma, Kalilo, Girish, and Nikos, particularly for stepping in at such short notice. And of course, earlier we had Sajan and Omar. And of course, all the people behind the scenes who made this run so smoothly today. So what I would say, if you do want to continue the conversation, if you do want to find out more about what you've heard today from any of the speakers, or particularly from Tecnotree and how they can help you on your journey, you will be receiving a follow-up email, and that will give you all the details of how to stay in touch and how to continue the conversation. Also in that follow-up email, you'll notice that it'll mention the animal sponsorship and the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. You're probably all very familiar with security and privacy and GDPR regulations. So you will need, as you'll see in that email, you'll need to click on something to opt in to say, yes, you're happy to be part of this. And I really hope that you do all opt in. And as Amit said earlier, you can opt out at any time, but I think it's a really good initiative, and I'm really grateful to Tecnotree for setting that up. But I think that brings us to the end of today's session. So I just, once again, I want to thank all of our contributors for contributing, and for you, the audience, for watching and for contributing in the chat. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.
Thank you.